fifth episode of the Creative Cult Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Rodney.
And I'm Kegan.
Kegan's going to look up a little bit.
I'm going to look up at the...
There we go. And with us, we have Cristian Baca. He is a creator of Reventon Parties, one of the hosts of Gasolina Parties, works with some shows, kind of like a force to be reckoned with, I'd say, with like electronic music and especially like Latin dance music, I think. You're kind of like the guy.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit, because you just had an event, when this goes live on Tuesday, this last Saturday, you had a Gasolina party, or
it was Friday night. Yep, we had a Gasolina at the Varsity Theater.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about that. I've seen stuff on Instagram, and it's insane. For people that don't follow it, give them the Instagram, and then tell us a little bit about
the Instagram post. Yeah, it looks lively.
Yeah, is it?
Yeah, it's turned.
It's
man.
Instagram.com /
Reventon MN. That's
Okay.
where all my parties. So Gasolina Party is this big reggaeton party that started in LA like a couple of years ago. And they partner with Live Nation to tour that party all around the country. And I'm kind of the Minneapolis representative, I guess. I'm the one that kind of hosts it through my Reventon parties. And yeah, we throw all the parties at the Varsity, and it's just crazy partying and having a good time.
How long ago did it launch in LA? Like, how long has it been going on?
I would say it's like 2 years.
Nice.
2 years. And then their home base is Avalon in Hollywood. Massive venue. A lot of EDM acts play there, and so it's kind of cool to see some Latin music in venues like that.
Nice, dude.
So you're a DJ, also an event promoter, party promoter, event creator, I guess. What got you into that? Like, was there a song? Was it, a DJ that you saw, or like what?
Like into DJing, or like party, like just in the whole scene?
The whole process. Like, so did you start as a DJ first, or were you like a promoter, or like what got you kind of passionate about this?
Just the way I got into music was just mainly through dance. So like when I grew up, my family always used to do parties and kind of hang out. So dance was a huge part. I used to dance cumbia, merengue, all that cool stuff in the family.
Stopping
parties.
you there.
Yes.
Elaborate on this, because as a DJ, I'm learning these things still. I'm like, I think I know. I got a good grasp of like Latin music or Spanish music or whatever you would call it. And I know a tenth, because I hear like crossover or any other Latin DJ, and they're like, nope, that's not what you say. That's not proper terminology. That's not that genre. So kind of explain a little bit about some of these genres, because there's so many.
Yeah,
Gasolina.
So Gasolina is reggaeton,
Okay.
predominantly, which is what you hear on the radio now with like Mi Gente, like all the J Balvin stuff, kind of that 100 BPM.
Yep.
So sometimes it goes as low as 80, just like that slow with that dembow, like that, like just
Can't
that
help
same
but
vibe.
move to that kind of thing.
No, it's just booty shaking music, man.
Yep.
Yeah.
Dope.
That's funny. Can't help but move to that thing. He doesn't even listen to this. He's literally probably listening to like,
if it came on, I would move to it.
It'd just be
he's
like,
throw it on.
he's listening to like Deftones or like Nine Inch Nails. I could totally move to that cumbia stuff you're talking about.
Right.
Yeah. But I mean, I can see why it's confusing, because like one, it's like just in the U.S. in general, it's like when they say Latin music, everyone thinks of like salsa or like
for sure,
all that ballroom style Latin music. But like all this like reggaeton and just the fusion that now is coming with like hip hop with that trap music. There's a lot of Latin trap music now, which is kind of what we play mainly at my parties. More youthful stuff, which is like what's pop now.
What makes the trap Latin?
It's in Spanish.
And that's the only thing.
That's the only thing.
Okay.
The beats are there's a difference in the production as well. Like, it's a lot more poppy. Like, you can hear like the American like hip hop and the trap. It's very like distorted in the bass lines. But I think with a lot of the Latin trap, it's very clean. The 808s are a lot cleaner. Just the drum kicks are a lot wider, in my opinion, and it just makes it like louder in some way.
Can the BPM fluctuate that much outside of the genre? I mean, he mentioned you go all the way down to 80.
Well, it's just slower.
Yeah.
So I mean, how BPMs dictate the genres? Do they not in subgenres? From my limited understanding of,
I mean, it's also the elements inside of it, but I think you're not gonna. I mean, yeah, I think to some level.
Well, like let's think like you have
that's
Afrobeat.
pretty big range.
So let's go
from
all
80
the
to
way
100.
back, right? So like reggaeton comes from like the reggae sound and like the dance hall, kind of that Caribbean feel. And then what just ended up happening is it got popular in Puerto Rico, and you have artists like Daddy Yankee who just blew it up onto a global scale. But it all comes from that Caribbean like vibe and that dembow, which is that like rhythm, like.
I used to think I was so like above or like ahead of the curve with like knowing Spanish or Latin music. I'd be like, yeah, Daddy Yankee or Don Omar or What's Happening in Dillon. People be like, yeah, you know your shit, and then that was like somebody like you or like you. But then I talked to like Charlie Landa, and he'd be like, that's like nothing, dude. They're like, that's like saying you know 3 artists of a genre. I'm like, that's really all I know. But it is cool. So I know, speaking of like Latin music, Dillon Francis is coming into town, and you're actually going to be opening.
Yep, I'll be direct support.
So he started kind of like his own genre. Really, it was kind of like Latin inspired, right? It was like.
Yeah, well, I think so. He didn't actually create the sound.
He didn't create it. You're right.
So what it was is Moombahton really started by a guy named Dave Nada. Which I'm sure you've heard of.
Yep.
Which the story goes, the legend is that he was at a house party for his family. Like kids were cutting from school and they were just throwing parties while leaving school. And he was playing some like Dutch house, and with a group of bunch of Latinos, which like a lot of them weren't vibing to it. So all he did was bring it from 130 all the way to 105, and it just changed the entire
audience.
So people went from not wanting to fist bump to like just getting down because it's so similar to reggaeton, and then just blew up from there.
Like how long ago is this?
This was like, I don't know, like 2009, I'm assuming. Probably even sooner than that.
I've definitely seen, being a DJ myself, I've noticed throughout probably the last like 15, 20 years, it being like dance music, you know, the generic like term or what, you know, people like fist bumping, right? The 128s, and that's what dance music was. That's what electronic music, that's what EDM was. And now there is all these like, you know, different genres and stuff. And I feel like a lot of dance music is slowing down into that like 75 for like trap, or 150 you want to double it or whatever, or like the Latin like Moombahton or reggaeton or fucking anything else ton. But you're like 100. So I could see that story actually making sense, because it does give you a completely different vibe. And a lot of songs or a lot of genres, you can't go from like a song that's natural like 110 and bring it to like 140. It sounds like a chipmunk. It sounds horrible. But I could see slowing down something from like 128 or 130 and bringing it into like 110 and getting still like a
like a lot of that
vibe.
like a lot of that Dutch house stuff. Like if you look at the Netherlands and like their demographics, there's a lot of, you know, folks from Africa that like migrated back in the day, you know, and so there's still that African and that Caribbean influence in the music. So now you see Afrojack, who is you know part black, I believe, and then he has all that influence, and he, you know, hits those bangers with those Caribbean sounds.
The music transcends.
Yeah. Speaking of the Netherlands, shout out to K-Drive. He's actually from the Netherlands, and actually where I heard of Dutch House at all for the very first time. But getting back into DJing, so your very, very first gig, what was that?
Ooh, my very first gig. I would say my very first gig was a party that my sister and her fiance threw in Minneapolis, and they had Fresco as the headliner.
Oh,
and I was like,
shout out to Fresco.
I know, shout out to Fresco. He was like the first person.
He's
to,
a
like,
godfather, man.
Yeah. But but it was like a Latin event, and here comes this fresh kid. Like I was like 18. I had just turned 18, and I was like, I'm opening for this guy. But I didn't know, I thought it was just Latin music, but I was like, you know what, I'm just going to go with the bangers, and started playing a bunch of like Swedish House Mafia, like right at the doors, which didn't go well, especially for a venue that has Latin music, but that was fun.
That's like a big intimidation thing, is and for the most part, I can say, especially Minneapolis dance scene or, you know, electronic music, everybody's pretty accepting.
Yeah, for the most part, yeah.
Yeah, there's, you know, there are some exceptions, but for the most part, yeah.
That would be a topic for later.
But I could see Fresco being like a dude who wasn't like a complete asshole, like, you know.
No, it was super cool. Like he like shook my hand that first day, and then like I would see him throughout the years, and he would do like, dude, like you're doing really good stuff. Like, you know, he was always kind of one of those that like supported me from the get go. So
that was your first event. What is your most memorable event? What's one that stands out? Whether it's location or a person you played with or opened for?
Well, hands down would be my first time I played at the Armory, which was September, opening for Martin Garrix. That was
little DJ. A couple people heard of him before?
I'll be mad if they don't, right?
When was that again?
I was in September, I believe.
So that was after the Super Bowl. 'Cause, I mean, that's when they turned it into a venue. The Armory.
Yeah, it was supposed to. Yeah. So funny enough, I believe the first show that happened at the Armory was Seven Lions and Tritono.
Yep.
A show that Sim Shows brought, and that was it was a sold out 7,000 people massive EDM event. And
Wait, is that Seven Lions? What's his?
Yep, he's in love with them, dude.
Just came onto it.
He's just came into the Millennium, the Seven
What's
Lions.
his name? What's his name again? They do rights.
I don't know his name offhand.
Yeah, you do.
No. You're thinking of an artist that played with Seven Lions,
okay.
like a vocalist on a track.
Right.
But yeah, you're thinking of John Bellion.
Seven Lions.
You're thinking of John Bellion on Elenium's track.
And that
Good
artist
Things Fall Apart or whatever. But
yeah,
so
awesome.
he's into that. But anyways, back to it.
Yeah, no. So that was
that was my first it was a sold out 7,000 people. I was playing. I didn't play it was a 9-10 o'clock set time, and I was so nervous. I just went completely blank, didn't plan anything, and I was just playing some groovy stuff, playing some disco, some house stuff,
Right.
and it was a lot of fun just playing for probably 5,000 people at the time, and just kind of not really caring what I play and just really setting the tone for the night.
Do you enjoy playing for a larger crowd or a smaller crowd? And I asked that a lot of people would think typically, yeah, you're gonna want to play for a lot of people, but there is some personality and closeness that you get with 50 or 100 people.
I like both.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think you need both to really improve as a DJ, improve your craft, because realistically, if you're playing for a large crowd, you're not gonna be able to see everyone.
Sure.
But if you're doing a smaller crowd, then you get to really see what's going on. And for example, Reventon, we do the big Gasolina events at the Varsity. But then we also do our regular Reventon events at the Union Rooftop, which is a smaller venue. And it's really cool to see the difference in the crowd and the difference in the vibe, because it's more people like that intimate stuff where they can just go in and tap you and whether ask for the song request or just even say oh my god, I'm so close to Cristian or whatever.
How does it in those settings? How does the crowd dynamic change? How does it change based upon is it a slower? Because I mean the DJ kind of steers the mood.
For example, the larger the Gasolina events are more kind of festival style where you have the DJs playing, they have their slots, and they can kind of just play whatever they want to an extent, while also keeping that tone of the vibe. Not playing all the bangers right off the top, but it's different because if you're doing a nightclub, then it's more you have to really take that journey of starting it off because no one's really here yet, and then kind of getting to the peak and then getting them ready to leave the venue, and
so you steer it. I mean, it's able to be steered a little bit more. It's a little bit less
and it's cooler to get on the mic too because it's you can really interact. And sometimes I don't get on the mic at all, but it's cool.
That being said, what between the two awkward, craziest scenario DJing?
The most awkward
or uncomfortable or strange things that were maybe the biggest growth, if you will.
That's a good one. I would say, well, I guess when people constantly ask you for shots, you hey man, let's take a shot together, at those smaller venues, I'm just nah man, I can't. Y'all doing too much, but it's really cool to see that they feel comfortable enough to say hi or to say they feel that sense of community, and that's what I like about the smaller shows. It's everybody knows each other, and just having a great time.
What's the biggest fail that you've had, or have you ever had a fail? Or one that you actually want to share? A lot of people
this is I share there was a lot of people, but so my first gig was doing that show with Fresco, but my very first EDM straight EDM show was it 2013? I think it was a year later, when Sim Shows was doing a DJ contest to play at Global Dance, which was one of the events that they were doing here. Yeah, and it was me and a bunch of other local DJs. Who were DJing, and I had never DJed on a CDJ line rig. Up to that point, I was still DJing on virtual DJ with my mouse.
Rehearsal beforehand, or was it just live drop in behind
the
booth?
So here's what happened. So I was it was one of those online contests. So you have to submit a mix and then get votes, and then the top 5 or so made it to the live contest, and the winner was gonna play on the main stage. And what happened was like I was DJing, like my recorded mix was on Virtual DJ. Like I rehearsed it and all, uploaded it, got a bunch of my friends to vote. And then when I got voted to the top 5, I think I was like number 3 or something. I don't know. We did at the Nether Bar inside of the Mill City Nights.
Okay, yep.
Ooh, is that over by the Guthrie?
No,
No,
it's right by. It's not open anymore, but it's used to be where
It's over by the
508.
bridge. Isn't it over by the bridge?
Okay.
Yeah, by like 508, that block.
Yeah.
And that's where they hosted in that little bar. It's like a little like the bar inside of that venue.
Cool.
And I decided to I was like, dang, I cannot play on Virtual DJ, so I spent money on a Tractor S4 controller, and I rolled it in on like a suitcase because I didn't even have like a flight case. With a really cheap computer that was like lagging on me every once in a while, and I was too scared to even go on the CDJs, so I just like plugged it all in at the same time while the other DJ was like doing their set, so it was just super cringy. And then when it was my turn, I was like I was playing some heavy big room stuff to like maybe like 10 people. Right?
So
like
for the
5,
people that
10
aren't
people.
DJs, like heavy big room, give an example. Of
It
that.
was like it's probably what you hear at all the festivals, like 128, like
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, jump kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it was just pretty bad. I think it was horrible.
The-
Lily's laughing right now. My girlfriend's here. She knows what I'm talking about. And that's the night I met JT. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, well, obviously, it wasn't that bad, right?
No, it wasn't
Or he's
that
like,
bad.
this guy's got a lot of improvement, and I can help him.
Roddy being an idealist, that would have been. What if you had a DJ that was showing up to the event? How would that go down? Like, would you be like, oh man, this guy? Like, I feel like
it's all how the person, like, if they're arrogant about it, right? Like, I'm gonna show you something, or like, I got this, or they're like, I messed up. If they like own the mistake, or they're like, I get it, then it's like you're like, hey, yeah, under my wing, I'll help you.
Well, I didn't actually meet. Like I met, like it was like, yeah, hi, nice to meet you, kind of thing. But I didn't really get involved with sim shows until like a year or 2 later. After
that was the first brush shoulders.
That was like my first
Okay.
you're Jack Trash, because like I remember like being, because I had just turned 18, I think 19 at that time of the festival, but of
How old are you
the
now?
contest.
How old are you, man?
I'm 25.
big things fast.
You know.
I was telling my girlfriend, I was like, he's like, she doesn't follow like the scene, obviously, like a DJ does, right? You got to know your competition and who you're going to collaborate with and things like that. But I was like, he's killing it. Like, he's been doing this for like a quarter of the amount of time that I've been doing it, and most DJs, and he's had way more success. He's like well-rounded. He can throw a million different genres at him. Like, nothing but compliments, nothing but like
Appreciate that.
like above and beyond what I see a lot of other DJs doing. And not to knock any other DJs, but again, it's difficult standing out in this crowd because anybody that's on Facebook, every day you get 400 friend requests that are DJs.
Yeah.
I almost don't want to put I'm a DJ in there because it's like, we knew you were a DJ because you're a white male. You're a DJ for sure.
Yeah, that's
Right?
that's true. That's,
Yeah.
Lily's laughing. It's funny.
And
Yeah, definitely. And like, for example, like if you just play one genre, that's totally cool, I think. I personally get bored very easily with playing one genre, so I like to play everything. Otherwise, I'd be like, I would not want to do this. Like,
Yeah.
if I didn't have that opportunity to just, one weekend play Latin music, the other weekend playing some house music, the next weekend some hip hop, like I probably would be like bored out of my mind.
Dude, I feel like people who span genres like that in music are like the same type of people who travel a lot. That's kind of my opinion of it. I feel like the music kind of brings the different cultures. Like, you're just well read.
Yeah,
in
yeah.
music and you
and
enjoy
it's
it.
and it's more fun. Like, and it's like, I think from my point of view, when I like look for music and like I've noticed similarities and like, oh, like this is where they got that influence, or this is where that happened. It kind of reminds. I always hear stories from like people older than me that's like, oh, I remember where I had to like dig for crates, and I had to, like, if I really wanted to dig deeper, like I'd look at the back and like find who produced it, and then look at all the records that producer produced to like, that's all the stuff I want to listen to. And it's like, I'm not gonna do that, but like I'll get somewhere close where like, oh no, I'll go on Wikipedia and like look guys like saying like, oh, like I like this one record, but who produced it? Then I go and look because
Influences. And that kind of
influence
thing.
it, and then I go to every single, like, I pay attention more of who like the producer that makes the beat versus like the artist that.
Same thing with like the movie fans. Like,
Yeah.
you'll start following directors or like producers of the movies or that kind of a thing.
Yeah,
I feel
definitely.
Like that's a true fan.
Yeah.
So, being DJs, one thing you get critiqued on a lot or knocked on is the use of the sync button. This is like a hot button of sorts. And
what does it do?
like Richie Houghton is a big advocate for using the sync button. And then there are purists and DJ Jazzy Jeff as well, from two different sides of the spectrum. Both are pro sync button. And they say use the amount of time that you would use, matching a track with another one like you used to have to back in the days in like records. Use that time and be more creative with your mix or your set or whatever. What's your stance on that? So being a guy that really, you didn't start on records, right? You started.
No, I started using sync on Virtual DJ.
Yeah.
But I think coming from that really helped me like learn song structure, because I would remember at first, like my first mixes, it'd be like, like the sound of mixing, it wouldn't like, it'd be like I'd be mixing it because I'd be clicking the sync, but it would not be on the right timing. Like it'd be like on the 3, but it'd be like the song starts on the 1, and it'd just be like some train wrecking.
You're looking at me for validation, and I don't even know what the button fucking does.
Yeah, so what it does is it does the beat matching for you. So like if you have a song that's 105 and then you have a 110, 115 record, then whatever song is coming in is the one that goes down or up to the previous record.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, and it's cool, but it doesn't. I mean, it doesn't always work. Right. Realistically, because like
is it a gradiated too? So I mean,
so you have to actually go into the software, whatever software you use. So like if you're like using Rekordbox, which is like the main software that a lot of the EDM DJs use, they go in their software and they like have to analyze the entire song, and then you have to really like go song by song and like beat grid each song like precisely enough so that if you're actually gonna use the sync, it like sync right on the spot.
So basically, it's just like, I mean, for video editing or something like that, I'm just trying to like draw a parallel. It's if you do use it, you want it to be as unrecognizable as possible.
Correct.
That's the
theory behind it. Yeah,
I gotcha.
But I mean, I enjoy it. Like when I started DJing, it was fun. It helped me learn everything else because like I didn't have to worry about the beat matching. But then later when I started DJing like on CDJs, then it was like, oh, like I already know the song structure. I already know how the waves work, and it makes it so much easier.
And there is a lot of for people out there that are watching this podcast, and even last week's since it's kind of been both DJs and producer last week. There's a lot of work that goes into the back end before you even hear that Shania Twain song or that Dillon Francis song, or like there is the analyzation of the file. There is making sure it's it's quantized or it's on the 1, like you said. You've got your cue point set. There's a lot of things just to be able to play that one track into another track, even if for 30 seconds or whatever.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more to it than just pushing sync.
Yeah.
Like you said, if it's not analyzed properly with the next track that has to be analyzed properly, it just goes away.
DJs that get bad names.
Have you ever synced? And this has actually happened to me recently. And I was actually with Danica, and it was a couple weeks ago. And I went in, and it sounded like crap. And I got out, and the forced reaction was to like go back in. And this is all in about the process of like 2 seconds, maybe a second. But it was because I didn't analyze the track, or it made a transition. That's what it was. It went from 75 to 110. It was one of those tracks with a transition built in. With those kind of tracks, have you ever ran into like a sync issue where it's live and you're like, oh God, I gotta get out of this, and it's making a transitions and you can't actually sync to anything because
because
you're smarter. You're smarter than me for sure.
I stopped using sync when I started doing the open format stuff.
Okay. Because
the same thing. It's like if there's if you go on those record pools, they have all those edits where like you have to transition and all that. Yeah. And I would have I use Serato for open format shows, and then when I do EDM shows, I do it all on USBs with Rekordbox. But when I do the open format stuff, that's when I use those transition tracks, or I sometimes just try to do it manually, and sometimes I go to the wide setting on the CDJ. So basically, like the range of how up and down on the BPM.
So there's a sync button, but you also have the ability to actually just do it manually.
So CDJs are like mini computers for DJs.
So you could change this. You were literally changing the RPM spin on the disc. CDJ, that's a CD, right?
Or you
that blank look at me was like,
I don't know,
but over there.
Well, so like let's say for like on turntables, right? You'd have the like on a Techniques or the new Pioneer ones. like you put in the record and you'd have to put it on the certain setting, right? It's like 45 or what's the other one?
33.
33. And so like that would change the revolutions, right?
Right.
And then you'd have the pitch, and then it has like the plus 13, plus 5, like
Or
the
you'd be
different.
plus 6, plus
yeah.
like 10, 16.
Yeah, I don't remember. I
wider,
have
yeah.
turntables, but I don't
Which
remember.
different
It's,
stuff.
it's
Different,
changing the BPM of the track.
Yeah, it
is
changed
what
the
it is.
BPM, and like so like the wide setting on the CDJ would be like if you go like plus 100.
So you can go to literally not moving at all to like chipmunk.
Yeah, to like yeah, it'd be like yeah. So but
We're,
so
we're, gonna
sometimes-
sa- we're
is
sampling
fast.
that. We're
sample
sampling
that. Sample that. we were just having this conversation during Thanksgiving, and I think there's like we were like Lily's always like my girlfriend's like, you know, once you become a better producer, you should do like a turkey like the guavel and like make like a beat. And then I realized somebody else already beat me to that, so I can't do that anymore.
Oh, you could still put
I
your own
like-
spin on it. No pun.
Yeah.
You could still do it though.
Yeah. That's
Question for you.
sure.
I just learned this. So I'm not saying this from like a higher knowledge level. I literally learned this like 3 weeks ago. Do you know what CDJ stands for?
No.
I always thought it was CDJ, right?
That's
like
literally
I would-
what I
yeah.
like
That's what I was
like-
functioning
Like
on.
compact.
like
Yeah.
like compact disc,
disc.
jockey. I thought it was. It's literally called controller disc.
That's
jockey.
cool.
It's like a controller.
Well, it really
People always
is.
are like, you're not using CDs, and it's like it's a computer.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Okay, so we have a segment that we kind of just pop in, and where do we want this visual to pop in, Kagan? You're gonna carry it because you're gonna put the visual up.
It's
Where
where
carry
it's
it.
gonna pop. This I'm vibing with this a little bit better than last time. Where you're like,
Right,
where are we
so-
gonna put the link?
So
And I was like,
random
what do you
question
mean?
segment. Where's that gonna go?
It could just probably pop up right here.
Right about there.
Maybe it's the left or the right. I don't know. Maybe
Okay.
it should pop up above. Or
Okay,
yeah,
so
it should pop
there we
up.
go. There we go.
Yeah.
All right. So
Love it.
random questions for Cristian Baca.
Okay.
And Chris, feel free to pop in and throw some random ones at us and get inspired by some of the responses he gives to the first ones we start with. What is your favorite brand of headphones and why?
Ooh, so I used to wear Beats all the time,
Okay.
and I had the Beats mixer, which was really cool, right? Because like
They spin,
when I-
right?
Yeah, they spin, and when they came out, I was like sponsored by David Guetta, and I was like, oh, cool, I want to be David Guetta. So I got those, and they were cool. They had colors and all that, but every time I bought some, after a couple, like I'd like party too hard when I was DJing or whatever, or I'd just be like putting them on, and like I'd crack the top,
Oh,
and it would be so bad.
I've got friends who do the workout, and all Beats was popular in the gym too.
Yeah, and they're just
same
like,
complaint.
Yep,
Snap.
yep. So I have like at least 3 of those just like laying around because I've been too lazy to go on Amazon and get those replaced. But then I just got those V-Modas a couple months ago, and those are amazing. Those are my
Right.
favorite. By far.
This is the first time I was introduced to them. I was like, those are dope, dude.
It's like,
I mean,
just
but I mean,
Stretch
that's
them out.
I
So
was
it's
telling
high
him
cost.
for the podcast. I was telling him, get some headphones, and I'm like a big advocate for V-Moda. Nothing but the best quality for sure. I mean, you can literally step on these things; they're so indestructible.
you can
but-
literally see the
Don't
build
step on
quality
them
that.
though.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
don't
but-
mistreat your headphones.
when you have metal pieces on the headphones
But
themselves.
Kegan, I was like, yeah, these are good. Give him a bunch of things, and then he goes out and buys like some fucking Bang and Olufsen that are like one of the most
you're supposed to be
expensive headphones
vibing.
I've ever seen in my
Not
entire
even.
fucking
These
life.
are I think these are less expensive than those. But I mean, these are like vibing in your like
Yeah,
easy
yeah.
chair. Listen to a fucking movie. They're not really
Hmm.
made for this. But, you know.
Okay, so another question. What is your favorite non-dance music song?
Ooh.
Or you could dance
Or
to
one of them.
everything,
You don't have to give
technically.
the exact.
You
I
can
mean, it's-
slow dance to slow stuff. So like, what music can't you dance to? That's a better question. I should have worded that.
I don't know. Also, like I grew up listening to, like my mom grew up was listening to a lot of disco, so I always grew up listening to dance music in some way, shape, or form. And plus, I'm Latino, so everything's danceable some way. So I would say if I have to pick like a song that I really like that has some like part where I can't dance to, would be "Children" by Robert Miles. That like
Oh.
I can't dance to the riff yet unless the kick
Yeah.
drum comes in, but I just think that's a beautiful song.
I'm not even. I would.
It's a
I'd
really
probably
good song.
bring it in.
It's a kind of a throwback.
It is.
Cool.
What is one mistake you see a lot of up and coming DJs making?
Not learning the song structure, like learning song structures. It's very easy. And I was very guilty of that, to like not know how the song works, or like learning that music theory part of it, so that your mixes are spot on, even with or without the sync.
So I mean, back to that initial question. You talked about the sync button. You it sounded like your answer was you actually use that a little bit more like early on, but then you almost use it as a learning tool.
Yeah,
because
I
you
did.
like developed your knowledge of the tracks based upon
Mhm.
where they needed to sync on
Yeah.
the automation.
Yeah, because I mean, I used the sync, but I sucked at it, so I had to learn how song worked before I was able to even
That's cool.
use it.
I mean, in the photography realm, with Chris behind on the producer over there, the same thing is like you throw the camera on manual. Yeah, you can throw it on auto, and like you can leave it up to automation. But I mean, the true photographer knows how all the settings go manually, right, Chris?
Exactly. I was typing.
He's typing all the questions.
That's awesome. Yeah,
Gotcha.
but I mean, the
Okay.
automation is great, and it's like you can rely on that a lot. And I just did when I was flying that drone around a little bit there. But I mean, knowing how the thing works and actually breaking it down is the theory
Yeah,
behind it.
and I think that's like once you know how a song works, and then you're playing it out, like and like people react because it's like you give them that surprise and it didn't sound messy. Then it's like, whoa, like this is cool. But yeah, so
Cool.
I would say that would be the like if you learn, as long as you learn how a song works, then everything else will be easy for you.
Nice. Yeah. The ins and outs.
Yeah.
The bone structure
Yeah.
of the music.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, what was your career choice when you were a child? What were you like? I'm gonna be a firefighter. I'm gonna be a cop. I'm gonna be a. You're like I'm gonna be David Guetta.
No,
Right,
no. I always wanted to work in be a counselor. And I went to school for psychology, but then I left school before my 4th year of college, and then I started the whole DJ stuff. But right now I work as an educator. I'm a paraprofessional.
Okay, cool.
So whenever I'm not DJing, I'm working at school. And I really like education.
You and Jack Trash have a lot in common, then, right? Because he's kind of the same. He's
he's
teacher.
an actual teacher. I like work and help behind the scenes, I guess, of the teaching.
Cool.
But yeah,
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
The psych interest there. I don't know.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I mean, it's a
well,
spread.
the thing with like the term of like when I always hear like, oh, you have good psychology. Like I'm a big pro wrestling fan, so like I always hear like those podcasts, and it's like, oh, he has good psychology and that. Like I'm like, what the heck does that mean? But then it's like actually knowing like how things work, like knowing how to read a setting, and I find that very fascinating.
I think you just become like you add the thinking, the smart element to whatever
Yeah,
it is that
yeah.
you do then.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Okay, so your favorite food?
Man, Mexican food, man.
Well,
I can't say
All of it?
Can I
all of it, man.
Well, so we actually just went to, what was it called? Nacho Mama's. Have you ever been there? It's in
No.
Stillwater. Oh my! So a DJ buddy was just like, "Where is
Stillwater,
this
though.
food? It looks
I don't know.
amazing." As a little
It's a
ways
haul.
out.
how about this though? La Taqueria Hacienda off Lake Street. You know what that is?
Yeah. Lake
Dude,
Street.
I had my buddy literally like
So-
introduce me to that spot.
So,
Fucking bomb, dude.
so I have this conversation with a lot of people, but like that spot is like the best spot for like after hours. Also Los Ocampo in the cities. But if the second we left Minnesota, like it was game over. Like my favorite taco spot is in Las Vegas.
And
Oh,
it's
really?
not Chronic Tacos.
What's it called?
From Weeman.
Tacos El Gordo.
Okay.
It's right off the strip.
Wow.
It's like that place is like a nightclub taco spot where like you show up at like whatever time of the day and there's like a line out the door with a security guard. But it's like the yummiest tacos I've ever had in my life. And
that's a win-win.
they have here's the kick. Here's the part that really gets me. They have the fountain drinks, and then they have like the horchata and the Jamaica like
Damn,
those
you
fresh
say
waters
this stuff
on
so
fountain
much
drinks.
cooler.
Whoa.
I hate it. Like I've said, horchata. It sounds so fucking lame, dude. I drink it all the time. I love it, and it sounds
The H is silent.
yeah.
Ooh, that's a
What is
good.
it? Say tempo.
Tempo?
Oh,
I don't know.
we're just amazed.
You don't have to think about it. Then it just rolls off the tongue. So
Benefits of being bilingual.
in
Yeah.
in LA, there's Wee Man. I don't even know if it's still there, but Wee Man from Jackass has his own taco chain, burrito chain called Wee
Yeah,
Man
is-
Chronic Tacos,
Yeah.
and they have like a skate park out front. So I mean,
I think Danny Trejo has his own taco spot. It's like Trejo's Tacos.
Does he?
When I go to California, that's the place I want to go check out.
Is it? Oh, so you haven't had it yet? I was
No,
gonna ask if it
no.
was good.
No,
So I got a
never.
question for him.
Sure,
so, being that you like authentic Mexican food,
Yes.
would you eat at Taco Bell?
Dude, that's like my late night stuff.
Oh, so you,
That's my guilty pleasure.
okay.
Yeah, no.
All right.
That's like an Italian like pizza aficionado.
I gotta
where
get
they start
their
pizza
their
Hut.
dollar spicy quesadillas. So you just like they're like $1 and you can get like 5, 6.
Right.
It's just the most anti like authentic Mexican food.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
survival
So-
at that point, though.
Yeah, at that point, it's like you wake up and it's like if I didn't drink, I feel hungover anyways, just because of
just-
Taco Bell.
I'm gonna put something in there. $1 each. Let's do it.
Yeah, for real.
So we're actually gonna be doing in the next couple of weeks. I actually thought about doing it with you, but I was like, it sounds kind of fucking racist in
Yes,
a way
it
to
does.
ask him.
If you have to say something's racist,
No,
it's
no,
probably racist.
not offensively racist, but like not offensively.
No,
But I was
mean-
like, just from what I know of my Latin friends, they're able to deal with a lot more spice than I can. Like, I mean,
Well, they have
this
hot
is too
wings. They
spicy
have the
for me,
hot
right?
thing, that hot thing.
And that's what I was thinking. We were thinking of doing that Pocky one chip challenge, and then I was like, well, I could ask Christian to do it, or I was even thinking
No,
of asking
man.
Charlie Landa, but I was like,
No.
But I was like,
It's like scratch
first of
her
all,
up.
I didn't want you to be that cool and just be like, it's not that fucking bad, man.
No,
and me just vomiting on
you
it.
can ask Lily this.
Ghost
I have
peppers.
hot Cheetos and I have that like sweat mustache like coming down.
Yeah,
like,
it's not a real spice. Like I feel like they like altered it a little bit. I don't know what they're doing with the hot Cheetos, but that's
I
not a
don't know,
real.
man. Those things are addicting.
Yeah, they got chemicals in them and they're doing something. It's not
Still good though.
Oh
Shout
yeah,
out to
no,
Tito's.
way good.
What's the next 5 years look like? What's a goal? You're doing things with sim shows. You got Reventon, you got Gasolina. You're DJing. Everywhere I see your name. You're playing with Dillon Francis coming up. When is the show with Dillon Francis?
March 21st.
Okay.
It's at the New Fillmore.
Okay. Is there any kind of plugs, locations, anything you want to tell them about that event?
Well, that's as much as I know. It's probably gonna sell out. It's that new venue, so it should be a good time. I'm excited to play at that. I'm always excited to play at like new spots,
Sure.
just because it's always good to see like who shows up. Or with EDM shows, it's a little different because like you have that like crowd that like always goes to every single show.
Yeah.
That's what I like about the EDM communities. Like there's so much available and people go to everything, which is really
Yeah.
cool.
So in the next like 5 years, what is there like something you're trying to start for like a different event? Are you trying to play a festival? Like what are some goals?
So I would say in the next 5 years, I would like to see how big Reventon gets, just in general. I would like to maybe start bringing some like Latino some Latino DJs or maybe some artists down the road. Not anytime soon, but continue to work with sim shows. I love doing what I do with them, and then just play out as much as I can. Maybe some out of town stuff would be cool.
I think it's cool. Like, so talking about the fact that you started that up. I mean, the promoter element to the DJ. I guess it's more even like directed with you. You've seen with social media, everyone kind of has to market themselves, right? So it
Yeah.
doesn't really matter what you do, especially in the creative realm. We've had guests talk about that before. But the fact that you approach DJing from a promoter's mindset, like, I mean, that almost precedes the thinking, right? I mean, that's
Well,
kind of the
Well, like one of those things that I love to do is like I love being on YouTube all the time, and I like watching podcasts or listening to podcasts and doing all that research stuff. And what I've noticed is, and this is like as a newer, younger DJ, I guess, is that a lot of the like you have the guys like Diplo and like Flostradamus and all those guys like started getting big because they started throwing their own parties. And like that's really how the scene, like a lot of these big artists really began, is like you're throwing your own events, you're building your own fan base, you're creating a demand for something that isn't there, and then you just blow up. And then when everybody else finds out about you, then it's like a bigger thing. And
it
I
has
don't-
its own gravity at that point. in
yeah,
time.
yeah, definitely, I think, and that's kind of the influence that I have from that. It's like, oh, like, like I like playing EDM all the time, but I have this other part of me that like I don't really play as much, like all the Latin stuff. And then I'm like, oh, like I have so much music that I can play. Like, why not throw a Latin night and see how it goes? And then it just went from there. Here we are.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So
cool.
what tips do you have for a 14, 15-year-old guy who's like, I'm going to be a DJ? I think this is great. Obviously, you took a lot of risks. You've got great success. You got an amazing fan base. You know how to network, those kind of things. What are some tips you would give?
I still don't know how to network, honestly.
Really?
No.
Well, somebody's doing a good job for you.
Someone's I try, but I don't know. It's like I'm a very like I can be like an extrovert in like in large group settings, but when it comes to like one-on-one, like I have a hard time like having conversations with people.
Creative. I mean,
Yeah,
this is a
yeah.
creative
That's just the thing. But I think just knowing like meeting the right people, right place, right time, right. But I would say my advice, and it's really funny because like I'm still new to this, honestly. But I would say just learn your music, learn all like listen to everything, because you never know when like you might like something more than others, and like if I don't know, I think there's been this thing about like like if you want to be a producer, if you want to be a DJ, like you have to focus on one thing. I'm like no, like DJing started from listening to like funk records, right? Or like listening to disco and like just making it into a totally new thing.
Throwback.
Yeah.
That's way back. Yeah.
Yeah. That's how it started. That's how it started. Yeah, that's how it started.
What was it? Was the DJ something about like an MC and a DJ had more of a relationship back in the day? What
Well,
was
the
that
DJ came before the MC.
Okay.
Like
And
if
the
you look in like the hip hop, at least my understanding of it is the DJ started first, and then the MC came in, and then at some point it kind of flipped where like the MC was like the head of things.
But I mean, the DJ's job back then was to like somebody said the emphasis. I can't remember who I was listening to on this, but like whoever was first, it was like the DJ's job to like point back to the MC, or the MC's job to like shed light on the DJ. I can't remember.
Yeah,
which way
it was one of those things. I'm sure. I don't know.
Kind of.
It's one or the other.
Yeah, it's one of the. It's one of the other. They need each other.
Yeah, right.
To some extent.
Symbiotic relationship.
But I'm pretty sure like. I mean, like if you look at like a lot of the hip hop DJs, or like you have like DJ Premier, or like you have like all the newer guys who the new DJs, like they all get on the mic and they do all that stuff on their own. So
Dude, I've noticed even Dillon Francis doing that a lot more recently. Like
everyone does it.
Yeah, it's just a lot more standing on stage, a lot more jumping,
and that's cool.
a lot. It's cool, yeah,
It's
for
good on
sure.
video
But it's
from a
but
videographer's standpoint.
but I do think from a person who's very introverted myself, you got that introvert extrovert kind of give and take a little bit. It's very difficult to take that introverted personality and flip it to be like hyping people up, like jumping around, grabbing people from the crowd, dancing on stage. Like there's something that has to switch. Usually for me, it's liquor. Like liquor helps that a little bit.
Yeah, I can see that.
Is it for you? Is there what's a switch where you're at home, you're like working on music by yourself, I would assume, and like analyzing all these things, and then you go out and you have to perform for, like you said, 5,000 plus people. What changes? What do you have to do for preparation? What mentally switches?
I think just doing it. I think
it's that easy for you.
It's not easy, but I just
harder.
do it because. So the thing is, like the 5 hours before the event, like I'm like shaking. I'm like super nervous. Like I'm like holding my hands all the time, or just like in my own little world, because like I don't want to go like talk in the mic or whatever. Yeah. But the second I'm there, it's like you're ready to go. It's like you just have to do it. And I think that's that's what makes it more fun for me, because it's like I get really nervous, but at the same time, like you get that adrenaline rush where it's like, oh, like this is kind of fun.
It's your world up there.
Yeah, it's there. That's what switches. Just being on the booth
element.
and doing it.
Is there any other DJs in the city that you're inspired by, or that you see as like, quote unquote, doing it, that you're like, I like what they're doing. I want to take at least a little bit of that and implement it into what I have, for my future?
Man, there's a lot. I don't know. I feel like when I first started, like before I started playing out, I used to always go to like the clubs. So I would always go to, like, at the time, Aqua, and like the Latin nights. So you have like DJ Angel Ramirez. I'm sure you know him. He has this whole thing at Mansion.
He even says his name cooler.
That was a lot of
Angel Ramirez.
It's Angel Ramirez, but
I just rolled so well.
I was like, I
That's
know
how you
that
say
name. I was like, there's either two people, one Angel Ramirez, and
like, that's just how you
the
say
cooler
it.
version of it. Or
Angel. So like he's doing his thing. His parties are awesome. I was very influenced by what he does. But I also am like very influenced by all the. I mean, I always enjoy. I don't know. I can't think of one particular person,
one,
but I think everyone's doing what they can to play out for their crowd, and I think that itself is really cool.
Another random question here. You're booked to DJ a show tomorrow, and you have to stick to
I was like, actually tomorrow?
My
Like,
alert's
no,
going
no.
off?
No, you're on the podcast. We also make you DJ the day after
Oh,
without you
shoot.
knowing.
Yeah.
You're booked to DJ tomorrow.
Yeah.
You only have from now until tomorrow to prepare, and you only can play one genre. What genre is that?
I'd probably go either for like, I'd probably say house. House
House?
is probably the if I have to like have the bat.
Just because of like the
Wide. It's wide.
It's wide and it's yeah, I don't know. I think it's like the easiest thing for me.
There's a cool following for that. I mean, I'm sure there's everything has its great followings, but
it depends on what the party is. Like that would be me. Like I'd be like, what kind of party is this? Like, is this gonna be a good? Like, where am I playing? Like, what time am I
What's the
playing?
vibe gonna be
What's
like?
the vibe?
Well, okay, so I'll tell you this.
I'd bring my computer. That's what I would do.
It's
I'd
a
bring my
it's a
computer.
rhythm show, and
It's a what?
it's a rhythm show.
Oh snap!
and you're the headliner and you're playing house.
Oh snap! That'd be cool. That'd be. I mean, I
Challenge.
I
That'd be
have
very
those thoughts in
difficult.
my head a lot where it's like, wow, what if I'm playing this dubstep show and then I'm just like dropping like the most like basic pop music or something. That'd be kind of funny.
So we're a podcast for the people that are watching this right now and are wondering what is this, right? So what podcasts are you watching right now? Are you listening to any? Watching any?
I like Will Joyce
Okay, yeah, yeah.
podcast. Back to back.
Yep.
He has a bunch of like famous EDM DJs, and I think he's had a couple promoters. I listen to a lot of the DJ Cities podcast stuff.
So Willie Joy, I'm trying to think. I know the name and I've listened to the podcast. Was he a Melbourne bounce DJ or like, I remember him being on it?
He's from Minneapolis.
Is he?
Yeah, he I'm not too he did a lot of bass. He does a lot of bass music.
Does he?
Yeah, but he's I think he was the DJ for Kid Sister, which is like some hip hop
Okay.
solo artist. That's what
I'm
he
gonna
says.
pretend
He
like I
says
know
that.
who it is,
He
but
says
yeah.
that. I don't even. I should look that up because I watch his stuff.
Where's the? I mean, he's from Minneapolis.
He's
but
from
the podcast
Minneapolis.
is based out of-
He's in LA.
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I get the
Or no,
thinking
I
like
think he's
Will
in
Smith,
Washington D.C. now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but
I was gonna say Seattle, Washington, or
no, Washington D.C. I think.
So you listen to him. Who else?
I
Anything
listen
else?
to.
You watching murder? Are you listening to murder podcasts?
No.
Like everybody
Please.
listens to those.
Do you listen? To no.
turned
No,
right
you guys
away.
are- I like you guys that much
Thank
more.
you.
I-
Yes. Everybody.
No, I don't. I don't listen to that.
Right away.
I get
the
too scared.
expression was
So
good.
like, I listen to podcasts to go to sleep.
That'd be horrible.
So that'd be the worst thing to fall asleep to. I'd
yeah,
be
the
like,
nightmares might be weird.
Hey, hon, we can't go to bed yet. They haven't got murdered yet.
no, I gotta wait. I gotta wait till the good stuff. No, I listen to podcasts mainly to like either on the drive or when because I like to take the bus to work.
Okay.
So I'm just like on the bus listening.
You'll
to
zone
stuff.
out to it, but I mean, every once in a while, like they hit a topic that you're like, "Whoa!" It like kicks back in. You're
Yeah,
like,
it kicks back
"Oh,
in. It's like, oh, okay,
you're
cool.
right there,
That's some
yeah.
good stuff.
So, great point that you mentioned riding on the bus. I'm fairly new to riding on the bus. I'd say in the last 5 years. Prior to that, it hadn't been since high school. What is the craziest thing that you've seen happen while riding public transportation?
I've seen some people play crabs on the bus.
Really?
wow.
Like
Okay.
just fucking throwing
Yeah,
dice
just
or whatever?
throwing the dice, putting dollar
Right down
bills.
the aisle.
Yeah, yeah, and it's funny because it was like in the whitest neighborhood in Minneapolis, which was really funny. I think.
What if they did that on the? I feel like the train would be a little bit more apropos for like throwing dice on because it's just a little bit smoother and straight. It's like
I've never
to go
seen it
around the
there.
corner.
There's always a lot of cops on the light rail, so if
Yeah.
anything, it's like you probably shouldn't.
Yeah.
What's something nobody knows about you? What's like a what the hell do they call those things? Like in a game. What are those things called?
Not truth or dare because that's how.
Oh,
you,
when
that's
it's like
how you dig it out.
it's like a secret thing in a game. What is it? Easter eggs.
An
There we go.
Easter
Thank
eggs,
you.
yeah.
So what's an Easter egg about Cristian Baca?
Ooh, Easter egg about Cristian Baca.
not to throw you in the spot or
No,
anything,
this is fine. That's fine. Something that people don't know about.
You're
me.
afraid of like deer or rabbits or something.
No,
Or
I'm not afraid of rabbits. Special. I started as a dancer before DJing. I was a dancer before.
like what kind of dance?
Like, so I was mainly Latin music, but I in high school senior year I like decided to like finally like step out of my shell because it's like the last year, and I decided to join the spring musical that year, and I did
Cool.
Hairspray.
Wow,
Oh, cool.
But I was mainly doing it for the dance because I was like I can't sing honestly.
that's cool.
But
Yeah,
but no,
coming on the
like
show.
ballet.
Then I did the dance class and I learned like not
Dude,
ballet,
you're,
but I
you're
learned
all
like
over. This is awesome.
what's the other
like
contemporary dancing and all that.
Yeah. What's the other one?
Traditional
Don't ask me.
Don't ask me.
You can make up a name, and I'll be like, that sounds like it.
I blink out.
Have you ever been into dance? That's something I've taken like 2 salsa classes, one some other merengue or some other kind of dance. I don't know, and then
ballroom,
some
pretty
like
standard.
physical dance class. I don't know what it was called, but it's so difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think of like structure, and it probably helps you. I would think that whatever you have that makes you as well as you are at DJing, or as great as you are, I should say, it's got to be something the same in dance, because there's a structure. There's so many different individual like steps,
Yeah.
and how you like analyze music. It's very similar, right? Like there's like this step to this step to this. That's why I suck at dance, because after step 8, I'm like, oh shit, there's 55 more. I was actually in Chris, who's off screen, our producer.
Yeah.
I was in his wedding, and he had a structured dance, and it wasn't difficult at all.
Well,
Right? There was like
yeah.
6 of us. We all sucked, and we practiced for hours. And you would, if you had any knowledge in dance, you would probably learn it in about 30 seconds. It took us weeks.
Yeah, I feel like
So I can really appreciate people that can dance, because it's so difficult. It's much more difficult.
I used to choreograph quinceañera dances when I was
Wow.
younger.
Okay.
like I mean the rhythm.
So quinceañera is like a
It's like Sweet 16
yeah.
for when you turn
Say
15.
like a bar mitzvah or a bar mitzvah.
yeah.
I mean, just the soul involved in, like, I mean, you started at a very young age. Your folks probably, I mean, music was
Yeah.
Do you
introduced
think
into
that
your
that was
life,
like a
yeah.
big thing that
Yeah.
that kind of led you on this path? Do you think you would be doing something different? Just guessing. If your
No,
parents
well,
weren't into music
Probably. Well, I don't know. Maybe.
or dance or anything
Maybe.
like that,
Well, I don't know.
they were
Probably.
just like, all we care about
Hypothetical.
is
Is studying. Nah,
Yeah.
I probably. Well, my parents. That's what all they cared about. They wanted me to go to school and get grades. Like that's really what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think coming from immigrant family, like that's what that was. It's like seeking the American dream, and you have to go to school. And to this day, my mom's still like, "Where's your degree at?" And I'm just like,
The creative thing is
Not there
kind of
yet.
shunned, because it's
No.
like the struggle, I think, is affiliated with
No.
it. Your parents don't want you to
Yeah.
struggle. They want you to do the tried
Yeah.
and true method of like follow this path or something like that.
Mhm.
So they're like, okay, well, if he's gonna
well,
wants to
like like
struggle.
like I'm going through all these sacrifices for you. Like, where's the results? of
right,
that?
yep, yeah, it's absolutely what it is.
Yeah, but no, I think music has always been like a part of like my family and like my culture, and I think there's no other option at this point.
It's just there.
It's
That's
just
the way
there.
it is.
It's just the way it is.
Cut all the ties and
so
roll.
being a somebody that's into dance and every form of music. Can you play any instruments?
I played 2 years of trumpet.
Oh,
Yeah, so
Dude.
I was 4th grade, and
That's
then
cool.
I stopped because I switched schools, and then it was like 7th grade where I went back and did it for another year.
you could have been the first Timmy Trumpet. You should have just ran
Nah,
with
it's
it.
cool. It's fine. I'm like, that's pretty cool though. He's coming to the Armory with Steve Aoki
Yeah.
on the 14th, I think. So I'm really excited. We saw him at EDC last year, and it was just like heavy hardstyle, psytrance. Like
Yep.
really,
When are
really-
they coming? Aoki?
Aoki's coming on March 14th
Oof.
at the Armory.
Dude, Armory's such a. I love that.
I love that
man.
venue. It's awesome.
So there are people like Timmy Trumpet that implement trumpet into the DJ set, and locally there's JT&T, which is Jack Trash, and what's his
Tyler Alex.
Tyler Alex, yeah, and she does saxophone, which I've seen at Union. They've played it.
Yeah.
I think it was a year or two ago. Amazing.
Mhm.
And first time I'd actually experienced that. If there was an instrument that you could implement, or a person that you could implement into your DJ sets, what would that be?
I would love to learn how to play the accordion.
That's a first.
Yeah,
That's
the
a first.
accordion.
Wow.
Yeah, well, it's prominent in like cumbia.
And there's 9,000 buttons on it.
Yeah,
so-
there's like 9.
And it's some
yeah.
effort.
It's
I
some
mean, you got
effort.
some peck work on that, right?
Yeah, you hear it everywhere. It'd just be really cool to like hop on stage and like pull it out and just go like and just start playing it. And
It's cool. People who are real good at the accordion, they rock, dude.
It's
You're like a one man band with that thing.
yeah.
So my grandpa, or my opa, actually was from Germany, and he played it, and I always looked at it like gross. That thing looks gross to me,
Yeah,
right?
That's what I think about the
it's
banjo.
always old.
That's like with the banjo.
Yeah. Oh. But I can tell you how that would be hilarious, and you would have such a huge following. Seeing a Latin guy you think it's gonna be the largest German dude playing an accordion always. Like,
Well, accordion is, like,
you have to be
very-
like,
that's very
and you see this
Latin
Latin guy playing it. Like,
Yeah,
that'd
Latin
be
as fuck,
amazing.
though. It truly is.
Yeah,
There's-
yeah. I'm sure it's some colonial stuff, like history behind that.
It,
But
it would be the equivalent of seeing like Tupac play the banjo.
that'd be cool.
It would be
I'd pay to
like,
see that.
what?
Mix it up.
I'd pay to see
That's
that. That'd be
hilarious.
cool.
Okay, so we're kind of getting close to the end. But where are some locations that people can find you? Give them kind of like some tidbits about you before we kind of wrap up. Starting with like your Instagram.
Yeah, so my Instagram is at DJ Cristian Baca. No H.
Okay,
So
and again,
Cristian, last name Baca.
all right. So follow him there. Do you have like a SoundCloud or anything with music mixes
Yeah,
or
I
anything?
think
out
I have
there?
a song. I have a SoundCloud, and I think I have a Mixcloud too. It's all under DJ Cristian Baca. All my socials are
Smart.
consistent.
And he also again is with Gasolina, Reventon. You want to give him the locations to those as well?
Yeah. So we have a bunch of events coming up. So if you want to stay tuned on all the Reventon stuff, follow at ReventonMN on Instagram and Facebook. So if you want to look at what the party's all about,
The evolution.
yeah.
Gasolina.
Yeah. So is there anything you want to kind of say towards the end?
Closing thoughts?
Yeah.
I don't know. I've just been into it.
This is like a Jerry Springer thing, right? Like, yeah, like we gotta have some philosophical ending here.
Philosophical.
Yeah, on accordions,
thinking thing.
accordions to philosophical endings.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Accordions that are harmonica. How about
Yeah,
that
yeah.
though? 'Cause a harmonica
You
part-
guys can
cool.
follow us at the Creative Cult Pod on Instagram and Facebook. You can check us out at tccult.com.
I changed my Instagram to TC and I put in the Instagram handle on that one, and so it was a little confusing.
You did?
Bad. But my Facebook now directs to tccult.com.
Okay, all irrelevant information there. Thank you guys for listening to episode 5, and thank you, Christian, for coming on. We appreciate it. Again, follow him, an amazing DJ, great promoter. You've heard of his events. If you haven't, you're one of the 3 people in the world that haven't. So
Yeah.
thank you again. And
When does this release?
this is going to be out
Tuesday, right?
Tuesday morning.
It's Tuesday right now.
Tuesday
to
right now.
everybody.
Today.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
So
today's
if
Tuesday.
you're
To now.
So we just announced Reventon at the Varsity Theater. So it won't be Gasolina. It'll be a Reventon party at the Varsity Theater, March 13th, Friday, March 13th. So it's gonna be our usual like Reventon night that we do at Union, but on a larger scale for a special spring
Oh, that's
celebration.
cool.
Yeah, and we're
Love
gonna
it.
have me, Crossover, and Velvo. He's gonna be doing a moomatone, reggaeton, baile funk set. So
That's where I wish
You
I had
guys are
the-
gonna
I
bring
wish I
the
had the
warm weather.
foghorns.
That's what that's gonna do. It's gonna
Yep.
make it warm here.
right before spring break.
Pew, pew,
Right
pew,
before
pew,
spring break.
pew.
Love it.
Check it out, you guys. Thank you guys for listening.